The following program is sponsored. The opinions and statements made by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the views of News Talk 600 and 100.3 WBOB or its parent company, the Chesapeake Portsmouth Broadcasting Corporation.
News Talk 600 and FM 100.3 WBOB is proud to present Tula's Tips for Caregivers. Help is on the air with Tula Wooten, your source to go for resources and information to help you in this rewarding but sometimes challenging role. Tula's Tips for Caregivers is brought to you by Agewell Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Health Care, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. To participate in today's show, call 904-222-TALK. That's 904-222-8255. Now here's Tula.
Well, welcome everyone to today's show. I am so delighted to be with you on this Saturday morning here in Northeast Florida. And again, for any first-time listeners, my name is Tula Wooten. And just to give you a quick background, my background is medical social work here in the Northeast Florida area. I've been working with seniors and therefore their family caregivers since 1979 here in Northeast Florida. And yes, that does age me a little bit. I am a boomer. And I am a caregiver for my own parents here in Jacksonville, and I'm very pleased to be able to assist them and help them navigate what we're going to be talking about today, elderhood. I love that term. But again, for any first-time listeners, I have been doing this radio show now for just about 6 years. Every Saturday, I come to you to help caregivers in the Northeast Florida area who are struggling. My goals are a couple, really. I'm here to help you connect to other caregivers. I want the message to be loud and clear that you are not alone. As a matter of fact, there are 66 million of us in the United States today who are caring for a loved one. And so I want to connect you to other caregivers who can help encourage you. I, too, want to help encourage you and inspire you to keep on keeping on, as I like to say. It can be a very challenging role. And then I hope to connect you to resources that can help you as you are caring for a loved one. So enough about me, because we've got a very, very full show today, and I'm really happy to have with me my partners in the show. As you heard at the top of the show, Brooks Bartram Lakes is a sponsor of Tula's Tips for Caregivers, and so I thank you for that, Danielle.
It's always a pleasure, Tula.
Thank you. I have with me Danielle McGrath, who is the Director of Marketing Services for the Brooks Bartram Lake System. And I have with us today their new employee, Elaine Serio. Did I say it right?
You did. You nailed it. And
Yay.
I'm so excited to be here.
She is the manager of the greenhouse residence, which you're going to be talking about a little bit. And then I have on the phone with me today Dr. Bill Thomas. Dr. Thomas, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Tula.
I am so delighted that you are here. For any first-time listeners or those who may not be acquainted with Dr. Thomas is a physician who's worked with seniors, elders, for a very long time, and he has some very innovative thoughts on how we should age and ways we can make aging better. He doesn't believe it needs to be the decline that we always seem to attribute it to. And he's got a book that I have, and Dr. Thomas, I'm in the process of reading it. I haven't finished it, but it's called Second. I'm going to finish it, Dr. Thomas. I'll have it done by the time you get here, November 2nd. It's called Second Wind, Navigating the Passage to a Slower, Deeper, and More Connected Life. I like just saying that.
It feels good.
It does feel good. And so as we talk today, and we talk about your tour, because I know you're coming to November 2nd for this thing you're doing called the Age of Disruption Tour, which you're going to have to explain to us. I want you to explain to us, too, during the hour today, Dr. Thomas, how we can really, truly achieve a slower, deeper, and more connected life as we age. Sound good?
I'd be delighted.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Because I think that's something we are all aiming for, but is something that we all struggle with. So in the beginning, though, I really want to let Danielle have a little bit of time to talk about why they're bringing you here, and some other folks to talk about this tour.
Well, it's a pleasure. Like I said, Dr. Thomas and Brooks Rehabilitation started their partnership years ago Of course, Brooks is always trying to be on the forefront of innovation, and we believe, rightfully, that Dr. Bill Thomas and his greenhouse project is the cutting edge of where everything is going in senior care. So we were thrilled and delighted to open the first greenhouses in Florida at our Bartram campus. And we actually serve elders with dementia in our greenhouses. And it's been very successful, very well received. And everything that Dr. Thomas is talking about aging meaningfully and purposefully, is what we're trying to accomplish. So we're thrilled to find out that he has an Age of Disruption tour, and Jacksonville is one of the stops. So, of course, Brooks is going to be a sponsor.
I think that's awesome, and I thank you for bringing him here as well. Dr. Thomas, let's just get into the heart of the matter here a little bit. For those of us who are aging, and I think everybody I know is, but particularly for elders, how do they live a life that still matters?
Well, it's interesting that that we live in a world at a time where we have to ask that question. I mean, let's just back up for a moment and look at the broad scope of human history. For almost all of human history, the question you've asked, which is a good question in American society, it would almost not make sense, because for most of human history, elders have had access to a very deeply meaningful kind of life, where they were held to be an important part and a valuable part of their communities. So we're actually, in the historical sense, we're kind of the weirdos. We're the ones who are scratching our heads and saying, well, gee, how is an elder supposed to be important? And I just like to begin by making that point, because sometimes in American society, we think that it's always been this way, and it really hasn't been. The second thing, if I could say, is that meaning, a really meaningful life, is derived from relationships. So if you live in a world where older people are isolated or lonely, it is hard for them to experience meaning. If you live in a world where older people are deeply and authentically connected to their families and their communities and their congregations and their neighborhoods, then older people do find a deep sense of meaning in their last decades of life.
As I hear you talk, I'm thinking about so many of the elders that I come into contact with in the work that I do every day, and those that are the happiest and the healthiest overall are those that are still connected to their families and to past employees that they worked with, those that were their community. That is what gives us meaning and purpose in life. You're listening to Tula's Tips for Caregivers on AM 600 WBOB. Please listen to the commercials, as they're the sponsors who make the show possible. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Tula, and I'm here to talk to you about Baptist's new Age Well Institute. Are you caring for a loved one who's 65 or older? Are you a boomer like myself who's caring for a parent? And perhaps your parent has been experiencing some decline in their overall health. Let me highly recommend to you the Baptist Age Well Institute. They have the only real geriatrician here in Northeast Florida who is able to look at the whole person. Their comprehensive approach includes a nurse, a doctor, a social worker, a pharmacist, a dietitian. They have their own physical therapy there. They can work with folks with memory disorders. My goal is to help you, the caregiver, find an organization that can care for your loved one who's 65 or older. I take my own parents there, and I highly recommend the Age Well Institute at Baptist. Please give them a call at 904-202-4243. Again, that's 904-202-4243. You'll be so so glad you did.
Have you read the new book, Love Stories and Timeless Tips yet? It's by our own Tula Wooten with Tula's Tips for Caregivers. Tula is a caregiver, too, as well as an expert on caregiving. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle at Amazon.com. The book is filled with touching stories of caregivers taking care of their loved ones. Each chapter has helpful ideas that we all can use. I love that Tula included a Tula's tip with each story. Her message to caregivers is clear. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of your loved one. This is a beautiful book for all caregivers to read, whether you're a part-time, full-time, or long-distance caregiver, or someone receiving care. You should get the book today. Just go to Amazon.com. Search for Love Stories and Timeless Tips by Tula Wooten.
George, I got the job. Thanks, I'm so excited. They hired me on the spot right after the interview. It was that book I bought from Amazon, From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. The book really taught me something. It helped me to think about what the boss wants. Then it helped me with answers that show that I can do the job. I can tell they were impressed when I introduced myself. I just followed the simple outline from the Interview to the Paycheck book, and I know I won the job with my first 90 days plan the book recommended. They said no one else had ever been so prepared. You should get the book. It's on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle. It's worth it if you want to get hired. Just search for From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. Do it now.
Hi, this is Tula with Tula's Tips for Caregivers. I have been fortunate to learn about Apex Home Healthcare Services. They have a Medicare certified division that can help you care for your loved one by providing a nurse to come assist you, a physical therapist, a speech therapist, an occupational therapist, a certified nursing assistant to help you with the personal care for your loved one, and a medical social worker. You know I believe in those. You need to call them and see what it is that may qualify you. They also have a personal care division that you can utilize to bring someone into your home for, say, 4 to 6 hours to give you some relief, give you some respite in caring for your loved one. They are a full-service company that care for your loved ones with compassion and tenderness, as well as professionalism and excellence in care. Please call Apex Home Health Services at 904-425-4202. That's 904-425-4202. Please call them. You'll be glad you did.
And now, let's return to Tula's Tips for Caregivers, brought to you in part by Age Well Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Healthcare, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. To participate in today's show, call 904-222-TALK. That's 904-222-8255. Once again, here's Tula.
Welcome back, everyone. If you've just joined me, my guest today is Dr. Bill Thomas, who is a musician, a teacher, and a physician who has been working with elders for years. And he has some very exciting new thoughts and concepts on what it means to age and age in a meaningful, purposeful, positive way in our society. I also have with me Danielle McGrath and her good friend and co-worker Elaine Serio from the Brooks Bartram Lakes facilities. And you know, Danielle, at the top of the hour, I meant to give you the opportunity to tell me about the gifts you want to give away today.
That's right, Tula. For any listeners that feel like calling in to speak with Dr. Thomas and us, we are offering free tickets to his Age of Disruption tour. And the stop again will be Monday, November 2nd here in Jacksonville. And tickets will be $25, so it's a value. I hope you have some callers, and we have a really great discussion going with Dr. Thomas.
Yep, that'll be, again, November 2nd at UNF, and it'll start at 7 o'clock and end at 8:30. It's a $25 value. If you're interested in coming to this to hear Dr. Bill Thomas talk about his thoughts on aging and aging in a meaningful way, just call in today, make a comment, ask a question. And that number, again, is 904-222-8255. Dr. Thomas, we were talking about the importance of connectivity to others, to our family relationships, to friends, and that is what really, truly gives life purpose and meaning. Can you help me? Give me some advice for our elders in our world, because we do live in the most fast-paced society, I think, in the world. Mm-hmm. And, you know, as I travel abroad, we were talking about this a little bit at the break, as I travel abroad, I don't see others living the crazy pace that we live. And I don't see elders in other societies kind of, I don't want to say pushed aside, but maybe the way that we can do or tend to do in our own society. Can you reflect on that with me a little?
I'd love to. And your observations, I think, are right on, based on some of the research that's out there and some of the experiences that I've had. So let's start with understanding and appreciating that elders are living in a different life phase in the same way that adults are living in a different life phase from children. So every now and then we'll run into or we'll encounter an adult who's very childish, who behaves in a childish way, who says childish things. And when we see that, we think to ourselves almost, oh, mercy, that's just terrible. This person, even though they're the age of an adult, they're acting like and behaving like and thinking like a child. And we're pretty clear in our society that that's not a good thing. Mm-hmm. Well, the way I look at this is elders are living in a different life phase from adults. And our society says to elders, you should behave and think and walk and talk and dress and act like adults. Like the best old people, this is what our society says. The best old people are the old people who look just like young people. And the problem with that is it alienates you from your own true self. And I'd like to just do a little thought experiment. We were talking about childish behavior. Elders really should become aware of adultish behavior. And what I mean by that is people who are elders but who are trying to act like and live like and be like adults. And the reason this is important is if you want to keep growing, if you want to experience the deepness and the richness and the depth that can be available to people who are living as elders, we have to give up adultish behavior, just like a long time ago we gave up childish behavior. So let's go back to the big idea. Going fast, faster, and fastest. Mm-hmm. In American society, older people are taught to brag about, I've got so much to do. I'm so busy. Holy cow. And I'm saying, actually, that's adultish behavior.
And it's bad behavior in my book. I'm just going to add on one thing, and I'm sorry. I think we almost wear it. I think we almost wear it as a badge of honor in our society. It makes us important.
Exactly. And, there's actually a wonderful little word that was taught to me about this. It's humble bragging. So,
I love it.
People are like, I'm so busy. They pretend like they're complaining, but they're really bragging.
Right.
So you're right. It's adultish behavior. And if you want to really taste the richness that aging can offer, you have to live slow. And living slow allows you to think and feel and believe in ways that adults are not capable of. Mm-hmm. And some of the wisest elders I've ever been with look at adults and sort of with a very compassionate way go, oh, mercy, I wouldn't go back to that. I wouldn't return to that life for anything. And that's really a sign of growth, mm-hmm. that you're willing to embrace slowness as a virtue. And you're not holding yourself to these adultish standards of behavior. Does that make sense?
It makes good sense to me because I'm one of those who live that fast-paced adult behavior but wants to try to slow down.
Good. Congratulations to you. I think one of the reasons to slow down is that it helps you connect and be connected. Again, adults run around, and I'm currently living in adulthood, so I can admit this. Adults run around trying to be very busy and trying to be connected with as many people as possible. Authentic elders seek deep relationships with a smaller number of people who really matter. So the shift into elderhood or life as an elder really involves investing more energy in fewer relationships, whereas adults, people living in adulthood, invest less energy in more relationships. That's a big shift, and it's really important.
Dr. Thomas, this is Danielle speaking. I have to jump in here because every day when I arrive to my community, Bartram Lakes, I come bustling in on my cell phone, carrying my laptop. Sometimes I have my dog with me, and I pass by a handful of my elders, my people, sitting on the front porch, drinking a cup of coffee, enjoying the morning, enjoying the day, and I know they're laughing at me. I know they are.
Well, I think hopefully they're looking at you the way we look at children on the playground when we drive by on the way to work. You know, you're like, oh yes, oh boy. You know, because the beauty of life is that we are given different life phases. That's the beauty. The beauty is that when we're children, we speak as children, and that when we become adults, we put away the things of childhood. And what I'm arguing here, and what Brooks has taken a hold of in a really brilliant way, what I'm arguing is that there's a time for adulthood and there's a time to outgrow adulthood. And we need a culture and a society, and Tula, you were touching on this earlier, that helps people outgrow adulthood in a healthy way so that they can live in a new life phase.
Some of the ideas that you came up with really are resonating with me right now because, as a matter of fact, I had dinner with a girlfriend last week who said, I don't see how you do everything you do and keep up with all the relationships that you have. You have so many. And then she meant it in a sweet way, and I of course, took it that way. So many really close girlfriends and friends that you take the time to spend time with, and I do, because they're important to me. How do you narrow that down?
Well, you know, it's the question, the hard question is what matters most.
Yeah.
And Tula, I know your experience is strong in this area, so I'll just put this out there because you have an abundance of experience. But one of the things that happens to normal humans as normal humans grow older is the amount of energy that's available to us each day is less than it was when we were younger. And I like to think of this energy as a little bag of gold coins that is on your bedside table when you wake up in the morning, okay? When you're young, the bag is pretty full. And you can go through the day, you know, throwing gold coins here and throwing gold coins there. And when you're older, when you pick up that bag, there are fewer gold coins. Now, the usual way of thinking of this is, oh, that's terrible. But what it really means is now you have to think carefully about each gold coin.
Right.
How will you spend it? What matters most?
Yep.
And when we talk about people who are wise, we're really talking about people who understand what matters most.
And as we get older, it's really important to start thinking very carefully about that because you do need to narrow down. I feel my little bag of gold coins has definitely grown smaller, and so it's time to start thinking about what matters most, particularly as we approach end of life. And I know that's what you're alluding to. I do work for community hospice here in Northeast Florida, and you start thinking about what matters most in your last year of life. We're going to talk about this some more, and then we're going to talk about your Age of Disruption tour when we get back. I want to hear what that means. You're listening to Tula's Tips for Caregivers on AM 600 and FM 100.3 WBOB. We'll be right back.
WBOB Jacksonville is Bill Bennett.
This is Laura Ingram.
It's Glenn Beck.
Michael Savage.
Mark Levin. AM 600 and FM 100.3. WBOB Jacksonville.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. An American Air Force serviceman stabbed while tackling a gunman on a European train has been transferred to a larger hospital in northern France. His traveling companions say Spencer Stone was stabbed with a box cutter when he intervened to immobilize a gunman. The Pentagon has said Stone's injuries are not life-threatening. Investigators trying to figure out exactly why a 68-year-old veteran and former federal employee slipped through a side door of a federal building in New York City last night and fatally shot a security guard before killing himself. The building houses an immigration court, passport processing center, and a regional office for the Department of Labor. Officials in Washington state hope an easing winds forecast today will allow them to get a better handle on severe wildfires that have driven thousands of people away from their homes. Firefighting resources are strained. Fire officials plan to provide basic fire training today to volunteers. This is SRN News.
Doolittle Tap.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 877-306-6365. That's 877-306-6365. Again, 877-306-6365. Call now.
AM 600 and FM 100.3. Every day, we've got your commute covered with up-to-the-minute updates from the west side to the beaches, Orange Park to the north side, and the south side to St. Augustine. And if you see something causing problems that we don't, call us. 904-222-TALK. That's 904-222-8255. Traffic updates when you need them. AM 600 and FM 100.3. WBOB Jacksonville.
WBOB traffic and weather.
It's 11:33. I'm Tom Murphy. You've got a wreck slowing traffic in the Mandarin area right now. 295 southbound there at Old St. Augustine Road. Northbound 295. It's a smooth drive from San Jose Boulevard over the Buckman and all the way out to I-10. Sunny today, a 30% rain chance, 92, although it will feel like 103. Right now it's 87 degrees. You're at News Talk AM 600 and FM 100.3 WBOB.
And now, let's return to Tula's Tips for Caregivers, brought to you in part by Age Well Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Health Care, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. To participate in today's show, call 904-222-TALK. That's 904-222-8255. Once again, here's Tula.
Welcome back, everyone. Again, my guests today are Danielle McGrath and Elaine Serio from the Brooks Bartram Lakes facilities. They have the first ever greenhouse here in the state of Florida. That's the concept of aging positively, nurturing elders as they grow, meaning that they can grow as we get older. That Dr. Thomas's concept. And they're the first ones to put one here in the state of Florida. We have it right here off of Old St. Augustine Road in 95. So if you are listening today, call in at 904-222-8255. Danielle would love to give away some tickets to hear Dr. Thomas when he comes to town on November 2nd. Dr. Thomas, tell us about your Age of Disruption tour. What does that title mean?
Well, I'm just like the folks at Brooks and Agewell and you, Tula. I think all of us share a commitment to changing how people think about aging. So we live in a society where the most common ideas about aging suggest that aging is decline and nothing else. That's all there is to it. And those of us on the show today, all of us are united in our beliefs that that's not right. that aging actually has an important dimension of growth to it. So this idea of disrupting aging, I have rented a rock and roll tour bus. And I am not kidding either. And Tula, when we come to town, I would love to give you a tour of the bus. So when
I want to get on that bus. I might even want to go for a ride on that bus.
I will go for a ride. Absolutely. So I rented a rock and roll tour bus, and instead of filling it with bass players and drummers, I actually fill it with the coolest cool people who have really interesting things to say about aging that challenge the status quo, challenge conventional wisdom. So this year, we're actually going to 35 cities. We've already done 20 cities, 15 in the U.S. and then 5 in the U.K. And in the fall, we're coming down, we're going through Texas, and then we're coming to Florida, and we're running from Jacksonville all the way down to Miami. So Monday, on November 2nd, as you mentioned, we're going to be in town with a cast of really cool people who have different things to say about aging. We're going to be holding educational sessions and workshops all day long. And in the evening, we're putting on a show that is called Life's Most Dangerous Game. And this goes back to this idea of challenging and overcoming the ideas about aging, like, oh, aging, that's kind of hard and sad. And we say aging is the most dangerous game you're ever going to play. It makes the NFL look like, touch football. Okay? So if you're playing a dangerous game, you better play well. And that's what we're interested in, and that's what we're doing. So we're doing a show in the evening called Life's Most Dangerous Game. It's all about exploring this new terrain, this positive terrain of aging. And then we load up the bus, and I better check twice to see if Tula's on there.
You better.
We're going to leave. We're going to leave Jacksonville and roll into Orlando, and then on to Tampa, and then on to West Palm, and then on to Miami. But Jacksonville is first on our list because we have such a great history of this community. You guys, I'm going to say about Jacksonville, you guys are leading the state. You're leading the state in terms of thinking and planning around aging. You're leading the state by being the first to bring the greenhouse model of care to the state of Florida. You've got incredibly great people, and when we come to town, we are going to have a blast.
I am personally looking forward to it. Dr. Thomas, my show is geared towards caregivers, as you know, and I want you to speak to those caregivers in my audience and tell them what they might glean from coming to hear you and to hear the show on November 2nd, because you know as well as I do how stressful and how overwhelming the role of caring for a loved one can be, particularly a loved one with any form of dementia. Yeah,
very, very good point. And I'm going to put on my geriatrician's hat. So I'm a medical doctor and I'm a geriatrician, and I'd like to speak about that, which you just raised, really from a physician's point of view.
Okay.
And what we bring when we come to town are people who really know what they're talking about and are able to offer real practical advice about what can be a very difficult part of life. And I bet you've covered this many times on the show, Tula, but the point is, caregiving is an essential part of the human experience, and the only essential experience that you're plunged into with no preparation, no training, no background.
Right.
And that's, listen, just imagine if we handled airplane commercial pilot licenses the way we handle caregiving. What would happen is, Tula, you'd be sitting in a movie theater watching a movie, and somebody would tap on your shoulder and say, "There's a 747 on the runway that needs a pilot. Jump in the cockpit." But
I'd say you're crazy.
What happens to people? You would. What happens to people? They're in the movie theater. They're watching a movie. Their phone rings. Yeah. Oh, my God, my mom, or whatever, Dad's in the hospital. I mean, what happens is they walk out of that movie theater and their life has changed forever. And yet, our culture provides no training, no preparation, often no support. And the worst thing of all, and we touched on this earlier, too, the worst thing of all, our culture supposes that caregiving can only be a one-on-one relationship. Mm-hmm. That there's one loved one, one friend, one family member who becomes the caregiver, and everybody else sends supportive emails. Okay?
Yeah. Or comes twice a year to relieve you for 2 days or that sort of thing.
Right. Or to complain about the job you're doing. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what we believe, and I know, Tula, you're aligned to this, and I certainly know Brooks is, we believe that caregiving is a team sport and ought to be played as a team sport, and that it isn't a one-on-one experience. It's really people coming together to share the experience of supporting another. And I'll just say, as an example of the kinds of things we talk about when we come to town, you have a show about caregiving. Caregiving is perhaps the most human thing about us. If you look at all the creatures on Earth, there's no other creature on Earth where the young nurture and care for and support their old. Lots of creatures nurture their young. Yes, that's true. We're the only creature on Earth that nurtures its elders, that cares for and protects its elders. Now, think about that for a minute. That means the people listening to the show who are caregiving, you are the most human. You are the most authentically and deeply human people in the world because you're doing something that only humans do. And that's why, again, why do we have to go on tour? Why do we have to have a rock and roll tour bus and go around the country? Is because this beautiful and authentic experience of caregiving is misunderstood and demeaned and diminished, and people do not get the proper preparation and they don't get the right support. And it makes me mad. So,
me too, because there is support. We're going to all do what we can together, and that's the beauty of collaborating as thought leaders who care about our elders and the caregivers who care for our elders. We need to collaborate together to make some of these things happen and to make the road easier for our caregivers and more positive, because you did touch on it. It definitely can be a beautiful, sweet experience. You are caring for a person who you love. That's the reason you're doing it.
I love it.
That's it. That's why we do what we do, because we have a heart. We love our parents, in my case, or your aunts or uncles or grandparents. It's because you want to provide the very best experience for them in their elderhood, if you will. We have so much to talk about. When we get back, we're going to talk to Danielle and to Elaine about Caregiver College. Yay. Who knew about a Caregiver College? But there's one coming up. You're listening to Tula's Tips for Caregivers on AM 600 WBOB. We'll be right back.
Have you read the new book, Love Stories and Timeless Tips yet? It's by our own Tula Wooten with Tula's Tips for Caregivers. Tula is a caregiver, too, as well as an expert on caregiving. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle at Amazon.com. The book is filled with touching stories of caregivers taking care of their loved ones. Each chapter has helpful ideas that we all can use. I love that Tula included a Tula's tip with each story. Her message to caregivers is clear. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of your loved one. This is a beautiful book for all caregivers to read, whether you're a part-time, full-time, or long-distance caregiver, or someone receiving care. You should get the book today. Just go to Amazon.com. Search for Love Stories and Timeless Tips by Tula Wooten.
George, I got the job. Thanks, I'm so excited. They hired me on the spot right after the interview. It was that book I bought from Amazon, From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. The book really taught me something. It helped me to think about what the boss wants. Then it helped me with answers that show that I can do the job. I can tell they were impressed when I introduced myself. I just followed the simple outline from the Interview to the Paycheck book, and I know I won the job with my first 90 days plan the book recommended. They said no one else had ever been so prepared. You should get the book. It's on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle. It's worth it if you want to get hired. Just search for From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. Do it now.
Have you noticed that mom or dad seems to be slipping a bit? Forgetting appointments, skipping meals, repeating stories? You know they're not ready for a nursing home, yet they could benefit from some kind of help. Brooks Rehabilitation invites you to redefine assisted living at Bartram Lakes. Bartram Lakes Assisted Living offers care and services for adults who value choice and independence, yet benefit from 24/7 support. Our residents embrace life, develop friendships, and live life to its fullest. Our residents' families benefit from having peace of mind, knowing that Brooks Rehabilitation, a trusted name in Jacksonville healthcare for 40 years, is overseeing their loved ones' care. Come and visit Bartram Lakes Assisted Living. To schedule a tour, call 904-528-3515. That's 904-528-3515. Or visit www.bartramlakes.org.
Hi, this is Tula. If the loved one that you're caring for has recently experienced any falls or had medication changes, maybe they've been hospitalized in the last 3 to 6 months, some new medical condition that's been diagnosed by the doctor, or just an overall change in their healthcare status, or difficulty in walking or bathing or eating, it's time to call Apex Home Healthcare Services. They can help you with all of the above. The number is 904-425-4202. That's 904-425-4202. Hi, everyone. This is Tula again, and I'm here to tell you about the Agewell Institute at Baptist Health. They're located in the San Marco area. I've been taking my own parents there for about 2 years now. Dr. Lance, the geriatrician on staff, has done remarkable things for both my parents and for me, the caregiver. They have great information, advice, and resources to help me. Dr. Lance and her team of social workers, dietitians, nurses, therapists, and the pharmacist have been so instrumental in helping me keep my own parents independent and living in their own home where they want to be. If you're looking for someone to either supplement the care that your primary physician is giving to your loved one who's 65 or older, or to perhaps become their primary care physician, I really encourage you to call the Agewell Institute at Baptist. Their number is 904-202-4243. Again, that's 904-202-4243.
And now, let's return to Tula's Tips for Caregivers, brought to you in part by Agewell Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Healthcare, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. To participate in today's show, call 904-222-TALK. That's 904-222-8255. Once again, here's Tula.
Well, welcome back, everyone. As usual, this show is going by very fast. My guests today are Dr. Bill Thomas, and I have Danielle McGrath and Elaine Cesario from the Brooks Bartram Lakes facilities here, the first and only greenhouse concept here in the state of Florida. We have been talking a lot about what it means to age meaningfully and with purpose and with still positive things in your life and staying connected to others. And I'm thrilled that you've been able to talk to me about the Age of Disruption tour that's coming up. And Danielle has 3 free tickets to give away to come hear Dr. Thomas speak on November 2nd here at UNF. And that is a $25 value. So if you're listening, come on. I know you're out there. Brave up and call in 222-8255. Danielle, you're doing so many good things here in the community, caring for elders that they're on your campus. And I know from our collaboration through the Northeast Florida Caregiver Coalition that you're also working together with another one of our partners in the Caregiver Coalition to present something called a Caregiver College. Tell me about that.
Sure, Tula. Well, At Bartram Lakes, we believe you're never too old to learn, and so continuous education is woven into our activities calendar every month. So in this fall, we are offering, in conjunction with the Alzheimer's Association, a brand new program for Northeast Florida called Caregiver College. This is a program that will meet once a month, and we're the host site at Bartram Lakes Assisted Living. And each month, we will focus for 2 hours on a topic for caregiving. Our very first session is Thursday, September 10th, and the topic will be Healthy Habits for a Healthy You. We all know the importance of eating right and sleeping enough and taking care of ourselves, but how often do we hear from caregivers that they aren't finding the time to do it? So that is Thursday, September 10th. It's from 2 to 4, and it is at Bartram Lakes Assisted Living. To RSVP, call 1-800-272-3900. That's 1-800-272-3900. And we're very excited. And the next session, just as a teaser, is Know the 10 Warning Signs, and that's all about dementia and Alzheimer's. And
when is that going to be?
That one's going to be on Friday, October 9th. And then on Friday, November 13th, we have memory loss, Alzheimer's disease, and dementia, the basics. So this is just going to be a great overview for the caregivers out there. We will be providing respite if they need it for their loved ones.
Very good.
And I can't wait, to tell your listeners more about it when they call.
Is there a cost?
No, this is a free workshop sponsored by Bartram Lakes Assisted Living and the Alzheimer's Association.
Another way that partners in the Caregiver Coalition of Northeast Florida, which for most of you in my listening audience know that I lead in my employment at a community hospice. I love it that our partners have collaborated to extend and do some other things for caregivers in Northeast Florida. Dr. Thomas, you were right. We are leading the way for caregivers, particularly in the state of Florida, and elders. And we are doing so many things here in Northeast Florida to reach out and care for caregivers of our elders. I understand we have a caller on line 1. Patty, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for calling in today, Patty.
Yes, this is my first time listening to you, and listening what's going on. It's like this is something for us who are not caregivers yet, but will be, maybe not too soon in the future, but knowing that there is preparation for it, that you don't have to wait and get the phone call or the tap on the shoulder about it, that you've got to take care of somebody. I've had to do it for a couple of years and not doing it now, but it is very, very hard to be a caregiver.
It is hard, and, what you just alluded to is so true. Most people don't plan for this role, so if you think it's going to be happening again in your future, stay tuned to the show, as well as maybe attend some of the Caregiver Coalition of Northeast Florida events, and then even the one that Danielle just told you about, because there are resources out there to help you, and planning ahead and putting documents in place that you need to put in place and knowing what the resources are ahead of time really helps, diffuse the crisis feeling that so many caregivers feel like they live in a good portion of the time, because it can be that way. So planning ahead for this important role will help you. Who have you cared for in the past, Patty?
A very good friend. She was 90, and she lost her 2 children, and I had to take on for her care for quite a few years. And watching my parents, helping them, long distance is real hard to do, be a main caretaker for them, long distance. And I know in my church there is a few elderly that we sort of look out for.
Well, that's my heart, and my hat gets tipped to you, because you've done some caregiving in very painful situations, obviously, and I know that the struggles of being a long-distance caregiver. Did you have a question for Dr. Thomas today?
No, I think I've heard that with his tour, it sounds exciting that when he comes to Jacksonville, hopefully that will be something that who is not a caregiver will be able to learn some different things to help caregivers now and be prepared myself.
Well, as he was talking about, too, he's going to talk to us all about aging in a more purposeful and meaningful way. And I know I'm aging, and I'm looking to do it better. So come to the tour, stay on the show, and give the information to the producer before you hang up. He'll take all your information, and Danielle will mail you one of those gift certificates to come and hear him on November 2nd.
And I want to add, hey, Patty, when I come to town and we the evening of the show, you come up and introduce yourself. I'd love to give you a big, warm welcome for being part of this program and being such an important part of the community of Jacksonville.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas, and thank you, Patty, for calling. This is a very informative show. Danielle, anything else you want to say about your conferences coming up?
We're just so excited. We've got great things happening on the First Coast, and Tula supports us. And the age of disruption and life's most dangerous game are going to be an exciting event for anyone who's thinking about aging. We're all aging, but let's start thinking about it. Let's continue the dialogue. It's a blessing. It's a wonderful experience. And then Caregiver College. Just check our website, bartramlakes.org, for more information on that. Dr. Thomas cannot wait to see you in November.
Yeah, and you better watch out. I may turn up in one of your caregiving college courses, so keep an eye out for me.
You're more than welcome.
We would love that.
Thank you.
Dr. Thomas, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Tell folks where they might go to get your book, Second Wind.
Well, it's in most Barnes & Nobles and bookstores. It's also available on Amazon. And it's really designed for people who are looking at, they want to look at changes in their future and a way of creating purpose and meaning that feels really good. So, and Tula, I'll send you a copy when I see you in November.
I can't wait to see you again. Again, thank you for taking the time to be on my show. Danielle and Elaine, thank you. I loved it too. I love that we are all pulling together to bless and help our elders and those of us who are aging. It can be done well with meaning and with joy still in life. I wish all of my listeners a wonderful Saturday afternoon and many blessings for today. See you next week.